The Social Selling 101 for accountants and bookkeepers. This presentation was created by Jeremy Burke, Intuit Business Development Manager, who happens to be myself. I've been asked to do a presentation on social media by many clients and teammates, so I put together this deck and I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's begin. So I think the best thing to do is start out with a definition of what social media is. So I did a little searching and found from the Webster Dictionary that the definition of social media is a form of electronic communication such as websites for social networks and microblogging through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, and personal messages and other content such as videos. If you notice in this particular slide, I have highlighted and underlined a few terminologies there. Basically, because when I first read that, I had this kind of feeling, what does that even mean? So I really had to break it down to help explain, and I broke it down, I hope, in a simple way. And so let's just kind of go through some of the terminologies that they use. Users are basically people. The idea is to create an online community. A community is a group of people with common interests and to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content. Notice that there is nowhere in there that it says anything about selling. So social media is often used incorrectly. And what I've observed is that the number one mistake made by the majority of people is that they're trying to use the tool to broadcast their commercials. They want to talk about themselves, what they're selling, their business, and that's pretty much from, you got the candlelight party to, you do something with hair products to people telling you to buy your bookkeeping services. And that is not how to communicate through social media. Some other mistakes that I see there is that they often share the information in the wrong places. And another mistake is that they are not interested in commonalities, just forward in their own reality. So they don't really care about the group of people that they're sharing the information with. They're just looking to share information because they want to make some money. And the last mistake that I see quite often, even with people with the best interests at heart, is that the information is often weak, sporadic, and not thoughtful. Going out and posting one message on a social media platform is not going to drive your business there. You need to be regular and thoughtful about it there. So from my observations, the easiest way to succeed, as I've learned, is to follow people that you want to be like and try to stay away from doing things that people don't do. So if you don't want to be like these people, what I'd recommend is doing the opposite. So what we're going to focus on today in this presentation is relevant content in the right places, how to search and share commonalities, and be meaningful, regular, and thoughtful. But first, before we can even get into this part of the content there, we need to talk about self-profiling. So this is how you win at social media. There is self-profiling. You need to be able to understand yourself first before you can communicate a message out to others there. So I'm going to spend some time going through with you some specific questions. So what I'd like you to do is take out a pen and paper and then put it down. And I know that you can't respond to this there. And I'm not looking for your answers because they're not particularly important to me as they are going to be important to you. But I want you to take some time. So we'll spend a couple minutes on this exercise. So I want you to think first about your company. The questions I have listed here are thought-provoking questions that I would like everybody to go through and write down. So if you got your pen and paper in hand, first question, here we go. For what reason are you looking to hire new clients now? So why are you interested in social media, and why specifically are you looking for new clients now? So write down an answer to that. What triggered your decision to attract new clients? Was it something that you were just looking for a different group of people, or are you just in a situation where you're desperate and need to have new clients in the door to keep the doors open? It could be a multitude of things, and they're personal to you, so just write them down. What makes this so urgent or important? Why now do you have to flip over to social media? What experiences, good and bad, have you had with past clients? What do you want to be different this time around? So this is a very important one that I probably spend a little bit more time on. And think about your current clients. What do you like dealing with? What do you don't like dealing with there? What results do you expect to see from this, from the time invested? And so if you're going to get into social media, it is going to require an investment of your time. What kind of results do you perceive that you will get for this invested time? What are your company's goals? Do you have goals written down? You can't attain goals that you haven't written down, so I recommend doing so. If you do, align yourself with your social media campaign on that. What has kept you from overcome or meeting new clients? I find that it's uncomfortable, and that is okay to meet new people. But really think about what has stopped you in the past. If you've been in business for 2 to 8 years to 15 years, what are some of the struggles that you have in regards to meeting new clients? What internal resources do you have to apply if you get new clients? So let's say that you start social media and you're extremely successful on it. Are you currently staffed and have the proper tools, procedures in place there to handle those new clients? There is an important question that you should ask yourself. What is your competition doing that you are not and wish you were? Have you done a market analysis? Have you checked out your competitors' websites? What kind of posts that they're putting on social media, what they're doing, what you like, and what they're also doing that you do not like, to make sure that you do not do that? What do you want to be the best at? And this is a very important part. The idea of social media is to exemplify your skills and strengths. So think about what you want to be best at, and what do you want to be, or have your company be renowned for. What are you willing to stake your reputation on? Social is a very open door, and once you open that door there, you can't really close it. So you want to make sure that if you want to maintain your reputation, that the tasks and things that you're doing align with that. Think about, just now coming back to kind of some money questions there. What is the average lifetime value of your customer? I know, for example, that the average bookkeeping client in Canada across the nation is approximately worth about $3,000 there per year. So kind of look at that, but look at what your clients are worth, what your current customer acquisition costs are. So I want you to think about past campaigns and marketing strategies, and also things that you've already invested in and what your current clients cost. Also, sometimes one of the best stories that I heard is that the grass is not always greener on the other side, but it's greener where you water it. Don't get so heavy into focusing on developing new client relationships and finding that, but make sure that you have a strong foundation with your current clients before you move on to add new clients into your mix. What is your current marketing return on investment? This will be important for later, to comparative for your social media returns. And how will you know when you've been successful? Everybody wants to be successful. What is your definition of success, and how do you know when you've attained it? So these are all important questions, and I'm going to take this deck and I'm going to email it to everybody that's been present. I'm also going to post this up on my YouTube channel as well, so you can come back and visit this page if we went through this too quickly. But these are very important questions that I'd probably recommend spending a half hour to hour answering to get a good understanding of where you're going with your company. Now, flipping over to the next page there, you got to also think about what are your personal interests there. So I'm going to go through these questions relatively quickly, just for the sake of time there, but they are important to think about. So, first question, who has been the biggest influence in your life? Number one, what kind of things really make you laugh? What's your favorite place in the entire world? Who is your best friend? What do you like about him or her? Favorite movie of all time, and why so? What's your biggest goal in life right now? What is your favorite way to spend a Saturday? Do you have any pet peeves? What were you like as a child? What should I know about you that I never think about to ask? Did you or do you have a nickname? What's the story behind it? Who was your favorite school teacher or college professor, and why? And have you figured out your calling in life, and what is it? These are all questions centered around your personal personal interests there, because social media is not just about business. It is also about expressing your personal interests. And if you look at those questions there and you go, what is these questions about, Jeremy? How does this relate to social media? And basically, I just wanted to let you know that I took that last slide from the 15 Great Date Questions from eHarmony. You need to relax, breathe, and realize that social media is meant to be fun as well too. It can't be all serious all the time there. So don't worry about that last slide. It was just a joke. But here comes the more prolific question ever asked. If you fired yourself as an accountant or a bookkeeper and could choose only one past job or current client business to take over as your new employment, what would you be doing? Okay, so once again, if you could no longer be an accountant or a bookkeeper and fired yourself, and you could only make a decision of taking on a past job that you've had prior to bookkeeping and accounting, or taking one of your clients' businesses and running with that, what would that business be? This is very important, so make sure you write that down. And then what I want you to do is to solidify that answer with 5 reasons why you chose that company. Pause for dramatics. Next slide. And the reason why that is a very important slide, and probably the most important slide of this whole deck, is this. This is going to be your first niche. Okay, or niche. I call it a niche. But why is this so important to have a niche market? A niche is a focused, targetable part of the market segment. You are a specialist providing a product or service that focuses on a specific client group's needs, which cannot or are not addressed in such detail by mainstream providers. This is the number one secret that I've learned about social media and marketing there that I think a lot of people get wrong, is that a lot of the people out there are trying to broadcast their, the spray and play method, throw crap to the wall. There's all kinds of terminologies for it, but basically they're trying to send their sales message out to a variety of people.
If you have dial from here, it works, but I cannot use hashtag.
And muting Jesse. And you're basically trying to spray that out. If you actually have a message that is direct to one specific group or type of people there, it is much easier to communicate with that group there. So therefore, usually what I look at is if you already have experience in a past job or you like to do something there, that's probably where you want to start. Okay, so the next slide. So benefits of market segmentation are these: better matching of customer needs, enhanced profits for business, better opportunities for growth, you'll retain more customers, and you'll gain share of a market segment. And this is the most important right here, this word here, target market and communications. It is easy for me to know when I know who I'm talking to, how to talk to them, as opposed to trying to talk to 30 or 300 different people there and spread a message there. So time to make my point. Social media is using online tools to communicate to communities. Before one can be successful in a community, one must first have a good understanding of their needs and wants and what truly brings them satisfaction in life. So this comes around to, back again, what job would you do if you're not doing accounting and bookkeeping? Then, after you understand what kind of groups attract you and communities and how to attract them, it's very easy there to be good at social media. All you need to do is do some research on the World Wide Web, find out where people meet that are of similar interests, and basically you can either ask to join those communities, or if you don't find a community, even better, build a community to attract those type of people, because there's other people's out like that, like you out in the market. And the last is, remember, givers gain. The purpose of social media is not to go out intentionally directly selling and being a commercial there. Its purpose is to share and spread information with people that have similar interests. And that in itself there, if you go into it with that attitude, will gain you more business there than the alternative. Okay, so that's kind of the theoretical part of social media. Here we're going to talk about specifically the tools that are used in social media. There is literally hundreds of social media tools. I personally use probably about 15 to 20 in my job, and so I'm just going to go through the top social media tools and discuss and talk about those, and some also offer up some strategies that I've used in the past and how I've used it to give you a better idea of how you can apply these tools to your business. So I have found a study, which is actually very recent and timely, so this is good. So these are the top 15 most popular social networking sites and apps as of August 2017, which was just basically 2 weeks ago. So no surprise, the number one application in the world is Facebook. And basically what you're looking at here is a bar of graphs of how many visits per month, unique visits per month that these sites get. So Facebook gets basically 2 billion, which is basically about 20-25% of the world's population are on Facebook at least once a month. So that's a staggering number for people to go to Meetup. Next after that, surprisingly enough, there is YouTube. And I personally believe that YouTube is going to outgrow Facebook and is going to be the number one social platform. There was a statistic that I read that the average person there, when they log into YouTube, spends 45 minutes on it. And there is something like I can't remember the stat there. There's a crazy amount of videos and information being uploaded, especially with millennials. Millennials are basically driving this popularity there. The older generation, the 30 plus people, when we have a dispute or question about something, we usually go to Google as a search reference there. When you're looking at the 30 and under people, the millennial generation, they generally go to YouTube first and receive content that way. The next group is Instagram. I personally don't have much experience with Instagram, but I'm apparently old, so that's okay. I do use Twitter, and there's a usage for that. I personally use Twitter for more of a information resource there, a quick read. I like to get information in about 5 minutes and learn about topics, so it's a great place to get news. Reddit, which is an organized, actually, if I go to my next slide there, I got them all laid out there, kind of going through. So I've talked about Facebook, talked about YouTube, love YouTube. Instagram, basically, it's a social networking app that you can just it's probably kind of the Facebook for the younger kids. Reddit is a social news website where people can display information there. You got to be a little bit careful about the information you receive on Reddit there, because it could be, termed as fake news, but it is a place to get information, and there is some real information there. Pinterest is basically more of a visual site for sharing. Oftentimes most seen it there to share recipes and cool things like gadgets. So if you got a business that is very visual, or artsy, crafty, and everything, like Pinterest is a great place to go. LinkedIn, which I'm going to go into a little bit further, is basically the world's leading social network for businesses. There is something like I think it's 200 million people on LinkedIn, and I could be wrong with that number, so don't quote me on that, but that are on there. And this tool is phenomenal for finding out information on people and basically segregating and doing stuff. So I'll talk about that and how I use LinkedIn. A new one that's kind of popping up there and getting some ground is this group called Meetup. And I like the idea of the Meetup, and I've used it. And Meetup is basically designed for social gatherings and communities, and where people can get together face to face. And there's a great usage for that in the social presence that we're planning on using as well too. Some other tools that you might not think of firsthand as social media tools, but they are Skype, Google Hangouts, WebEx, GoToMeeting. So these are all basically communication tools there. So if you have long distances, so the one we're using right now is Blue Jeans, which is the ability for people to log in and go, but these are all do the same thing. So it allows you to basically connect face to face through the internet.
I'm sorry, it looks like you're in pain.
MailChimp, Constant Contact, and Infusionsoft are all email spam mass communication email generators there. Basically, you create a template, you upload a CSV file, and you can basically communicate to a large broadcast of people that you have email. You got to be careful this nowadays there with the castle laws in Canada and how to use it. My personal favorite is, and the most expensive out of these three, is Infusionsoft one, because you can set up campaigns where you send out an email and then you can do drip email campaigns after that, which is basically you create actions there, so you can actually have 6 weeks of emails going out to a person, and you just hit the button once. Eventbrite, which I use on pretty much a weekly, well, I do definitely use it on a weekly basis, which is basically a registration page where you can have people sign up. Klout, I'll talk about this a bit too there. It's a great source for finding out who influencers are. Kijiji is basically a site where you can advertise your services. SlideShare, I'm going to talk about this, and this is a part of LinkedIn, and this is a great resource for finding content. Fiverr, which is basically a cheap place there to go get marketing materials, websites built, and logos and stuff like that. Bitly is a tool used to track users. And then Slack is a very popular one in the business world in regards to using for open communications through many devices. And so basically it's kind of like text messaging with extra features and functionality, but for a group. So let's get into the talking about some of the products that we have here. So just give me a second so I can change my screens. And I'm just going to ask quickly, can you guys hear me? Everything going well?
Everything's going great.
Okay, presentation's not broken or anything like that. Perfect. Okay, so let's go on to talking about some of these tools in a deeper manner. So we're at 9:32, so we got about a half hour left in the presentation. So let's talk about how we use these tools. So the first tool I want to talk about is Facebook. Facebook can be, so when you think about social media is not just about you trying to sell your product or service, okay? I look at social media as a tool that I can use in two different ways. One, I can acquire more knowledge about the topics and subjects that I work with in my business. My particular business is accountants and bookkeepers. And then also where I can find forums to share that information. And for Facebook and the accountant bookkeepers, since I'm talking accountant bookkeepers, the number one realm that I think is the most important Facebook page for any accountant bookkeeper is to go on Facebook and join this community called QB-HQ. And basically what it is a group of about 1,766 members. And I know it started about 2 years ago by a lady by the name of Rachel Fish. And you can see in here, basically, when you read through, it's people that are bookkeepers and accountants sharing their stories and information and questions in regards to this. So I would keep a constant eye on this to see what your peers are having issues with, and generally people go and answer that and come in here and offer up answers to questions they may have, and also ask the questions there. So that is a great way to come into this. Now, you can also use social media. So you can use Facebook in particular in regards to a paid AdSense to market your business. I'll give you kind of a quick story of how I used it. I used it a bunch of different ways, but one of my most successful ways that I've used it is I belong to an organization called the Masons, and I joined this organization probably about 12 or 13 years ago. And when I joined, there was about 80 people in my particular group there, and the numbers were kind of waning along. And I was a little concerned about this because we have to have a certain number to basically keep it going. And the organization, it was at that time probably about 109 years old there. So it's definitely something you don't want to see. So what I did is I decided to do a marketing campaign using Facebook. And how I went about it is this. In the organization I belong to, there you have to be male, you have to be 21 years old, and there's a couple other qualifications, but primarily those two things. The great thing is you can run a Facebook ad, and you can target specifically people that live in Edmonton, Alberta, that are male that are over the age of 21, and I can pick an age range. So I wanted to particularly pick an age range between 28 years old and 50 years old. And all I did is create a simple little ad that said Freemasonry, what's the excitement, that showed up on the right-hand side of the corner, and it cost me about 130 bucks. Out of that campaign, when I created it, it generated over 100,000 views of that little ad. And at that point in time, I had over 1,000 people click on the ad. And in the ad, I had a link driving to my website. And basically, it was simple. And basically, it drove people to this page about Freemasonry, quick explanation of what my organization's about, and had an email to drive them to contact me if they wanted further information. So basically, I had an ad on Facebook that was displayed to the target market of the people that I was interested in having in my group. They would click on it, they would come to this page, read more information about it, and there would be a prompt to connect with me. And this is an important thing about social media that I want to kind of hammer home, is that social media is not something to be used to hide behind a desk so that you can avoid talking to people. It is actually a tool to be used there to hopefully create interactions in a face-to-face meeting at some point in time there. That's ideally what you want to do. I find a lot of people will try to hide behind the tools and don't really want to communicate. It's a tool to basically attract communications. Long story short, from that one ad that I spent 130 bucks for, I was managed to, within running that for a month, acquire 40 new members to my organization, and we have the fastest growing organization in definitely in Canada because of that ad. It cost me very little, and it was very easy and very strategic, but that's one of the situations that Facebook offered up there. The next program that I want to talk to you guys about in regards to how to use is social media. So YouTube is my favorite channel, and I'm just going to go into my channel here. So I created a channel called Alberta BDM, and basically YouTube is a phenomenal social media tool for two different purposes. One, it's to acquire knowledge. They have a video library pretty much on everything that you can ever want. So if you want to know about bookkeeping, marketing, sales, value pricing, any of those things there, you can easily type in search here. And there is every video explained in generally 3 to 5 minutes is kind of a length. Ron Baker is a god on the conversation of value pricing. So all the information in the world is basically consumed and put into YouTube. Also, it's a way to communicate out to your thought leadership as well. So I produce videos in particular about topics of interest for accountants and bookkeepers and offer it up. So some of my more successful ones here you can see is I done a session similar to this one on Event Marketing 101, which has had 173 views in 7 months, and QuickBooks Online account, and Let's Begin. So you can create videos, post it here, and this is a way of increasing your value to the community. Also, I like it about it there is if I get asked the same question 50 times, chances are there's going to be even more people ask me that, and I get tired of answering the same question the same way every time. So after a while, I'll usually make a video and post it to my site, and the next person that asks me about that video or that particular situation, I just refer them to the link, so I don't have to explain it over and over and over again. So it's a nice way to do that. And that is basically my summary of YouTube. The next social media tool that I find very beneficial there is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, as I said, a professional network. Basically what it does is it speaks to your professional credentials. So when you go to your homepage, it can talk to you about, you can control your brand and how you want to be seen by other people. Now, a couple key things about LinkedIn when using it is, first of all, make sure you have a full profile. And then there's a couple tips on that is make sure you have your contact information in the strategy. This is not a resume site. A lot of people kind of post their jobs and resumes. Yes, they have that, but you should have a generic message communicating what's about you and what you do. So you see here, first thing I have is my cell phone number. Then I have my email address because I want people to connect and communicate with me. And then I want to basically give an overview of what I do. So I work with accountants and bookkeepers in Edmonton. I worked with them to develop effective market and sales business processes using currently available cloud technology and the contacts and resources Intuit can afford me. On a personal level, I'm a working husband and father of 3. I work in my community, and I basically volunteer my time away for a lot of different stuff there. This is an important aspect too when you're communicating about social media. It's not all business. You need to have a real personality. People do not want to deal with you if you're posting about your business all the time there. The ratio minimums that you should expect when you're working in the social media environment is an 80-20 rule. 80% can be business, and 20% can be needs to be fun, minimum. So one of the most popular things that you see on social media, they actually had a statistic that on Facebook, 45% of all people posted cat pictures at one point in time there. So if you have no clue what to do, and you just feel like you don't have much of a personality, look at every 10 posts that you do, make sure 2 of them minimum have cat pictures in it, and then you'll be safe. Okay. So let's come back around to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, key things that people look for when they're looking for that, they generally want to see that you're a popular person in the cloud environment. So work as best you can to get up to the contact rate up to 500 plus. I think I'm sitting at about 1,700. And I haven't put in a lot of effort into LinkedIn. But you can see who's viewing your profile. So you can see 79 people viewed my profile, my posts being viewed, and I've appeared in 10 things. So there's a lot of statistics in this program. But I want to talk to you about how I specifically use and how you can relate this. So the first part of this presentation was talking about understanding who you want, what community you want to be a part of and understand. And once you have that information there, the great thing about it is you can search out the people in LinkedIn and communities and pages and groups that are involved in those things. So for example, myself, I want to know all the bookkeepers in Edmonton. So I might want to say bookkeepers. Now, you might want to have connections with dentists, doctors, lawyers, dog daycares. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to give you my example. So first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want to find a list of all the bookkeepers in Edmonton. So here's my list of bookkeepers in Edmonton, and you'll see a couple different things there. So the first contact, that means that I'm already connected with that person. A second contact there means that, or a third contact means that you're not currently connected with that individual. You can send an invite. Now you can see here I've already sent an invite to this individual, and there might be some people. I'm pretty good about going through this list quite often, but let's go down to the 10th page. So you can see there's about 10 people per page here. So there's over 100 people. Actually, I think they give a number. There's 1,444 results for bookkeepers in Edmonton. Here's one, Gary Goo. So he might be new. He's a bookkeeper at this Pavilion building manufacturing company there. What I would do is I would connect. Now, you don't want to be lazy about your LinkedIn invites. So there's a standard invite that you can send out to people and just saying, hey, connect, and we never do anything about it. And I find this is probably the most popular thing that people do with it. What you want to do is you want to customize a note and be specific. So the particular note that I use anytime I connect, so I send an invite out and I explain who I am. I say, hey, I'm Jeremy Burke. I'm the business development manager for Intuit Canada. I would like to connect, and I have a purpose. I have a weekly breakfast session that I offer for bookkeepers and accountants. If you'd be interested in this, please connect. And if you give me a few seconds here, I'll just actually get you the exact same. I'll show you exactly the message that I sent. I actually took it a little bit further and I saved it. And just got to find where I saved it to. And if you don't see what I got going on here, I got another screen here. And I pulled up the wrong one. Regardless, anyways, that's going to be the message there. So they say, I put hi. I just got a canned presentation that says, hi, Gary. would you be doing that? Then what I do is I wait for the notification here to say, hey, this person has actually accepted your invite. And then I set up another follow-up email there where I say, hey, thanks for connecting. If you're interested in meeting your local, so actually this is the exact message that I sent. Hello, Kathy. I'm the local BDM at Intuit for Alberta. I am always interested in meeting new bookkeepers and accountants in Edmonton. In fact, I'm helping build a local peer community that shares best business practices with one another. Please connect if interested. She connected. And then I sent a message saying, thanks for connecting, Kathy. If you're interested in meeting your local peers, share best practices, I host a weekly breakfast session. You can basically go to my Eventbrite link here and register and show up to my events and meet the other people there. So as I take this for bookkeepers there, you guys can also take it for your clients. So you need to have an event in place. Maybe it'll be a monthly, weekly might be a little bit extreme, but maybe you have a monthly social, you use that Meetup program or Eventbrite, you pick a location and you bring people together. So if it's real estate salespeople there, you can bring them and put a little presentation together and a meet and greet. And the important part about those events, which I talk more about my event YouTube channel video, is don't always make it about business either. And best thing to do is always bring in experts from outside, subject matter experts, so it doesn't look like you're always trying to do it yourself there. So that's LinkedIn for those parts. Now there was a part that I talked about, and it's called SlideShare. That's in LinkedIn as well too. And if you go to this work button right here, you will see this program here called SlideShare. So my weekly breakfast sessions, for example, I try to bring in thought leaders as much as possible out in the community and talk about different topics of interest to the bookkeepers and accountants. I always find that best, and I recommend if you're going to do events, that's the same thing that you do as well too. However, there's just times that I'm stuck and I can't get somebody to come and talk to people, and I've already committed to the weekly schedule. So this is generally my go-to place. So what I do is I'll ask people about questions of the information, like bookkeepers, what do you want to learn about? They'll often say social media, or sales, or marketing, or they want to learn about value pricing or discounting or, technology, whatever the case is there. So what I can do is in SlideShare, I can go on here and I can basically type in, I can say, hey, value pricing. I've learned at a very young age not to reinvent the wheel, but basically to steal the wheel for somebody else and make it 3% better. So what I like about SlideShare is basically it is a resource where people have posted all kinds of different presentations, and I can go through their presentations and I can rip them apart and put them together to serve my needs. So instead of trying to come up with the content, which can take 3 to 4 hours for every hour of presentation that you're doing, I go and spend an hour reading people's content, and then I will put together a presentation that will be of interest. And generally I can do it in 2 hours, about half the time. So SlideShare is a great resource and tool for learning about information and piecing together your own presentations to make it your own. And I'm going to talk about, I want to talk about 3 more tools there, and we have about 10 minutes. So the next tool that I want to talk to is about Klout. So people say to me, hey, Jeremy, social media takes a commitment of time, and that's agreed. So I'll kind of give you an idea. I personally commit about 2 hours per day into social media. Now, that's pretty heavy, and I don't expect accountants and bookkeepers to start off, or anybody to start off with that. Now, when I say 2 hours a day, I have 3 young kids, and generally at their bedtime, I have to put them to sleep. So while I'm sitting there waiting for them to sleep, I will generally do my rounds, I call them there, of my social media tools. The tools that I'll check is my Twitter. So I'll check my followers on Twitter, see what they're kind of talk about, keep a thumb on the pulse. Actually, you should keep a finger on your pulse of Twitter, see what's going on there. I'll check Facebook. I'll check into the QBHQ community. I'll check on LinkedIn to see if anybody's connected, or if there's any interest in articles or information. I do that. So generally when my kids are sleeping, I'll have my phone out and I'll be reading that information there. Now, when I want to come to be perceived as a thought leader and share information, my favorite thing to do is use this tool called Klout. And now Klout does a couple different things. Klout basically, first of all, provides you a social impact score. And how it works is this. You sign up for Klout, you connect your variety of accounts there. So you can connect your Twitter account, Facebook account, LinkedIn account, Google, YouTube account, and then your Google Plus account. And what they do is it has some kind of algorithm that tracks your social influence in the world there. So generally, when you first start out, if you don't have much of a social influencer, you're probably going to have a score of about 18. The highest score is 99, and that's guys like Justin Bieber and Barack Obama there. You know, Justin Bieber goes, buys himself a new set of Adidas shoes there. Probably 40,000 girls are going to go out the next day and buy themselves there. So I'm not that popular. Now, it's not like school. You see my score here currently sitting at 52. That would not just be a barely passing grade. That actually is an exemplarily mark that to get that the 50 range plus there. It's very hard to actually get to that range. This 50 plus range generally puts you in a top 1%, 5%, 1 to 5 percentile in the world of social influence. So if you kind of look at the measurements here, you'll see that in business development, as a social stand-in, here's the network contributions. So 42% of my Facebook goes into this, 21% LinkedIn, and my YouTube channel basically total up 100% of my influence. And I'm considered an expert in business development at the 99.9%. So out of the 7 billion people in the world, I am considered more influential than 99.9% of those people there. And so on topics like business development, QuickBooks, accounting, small business, TurboTax, and you can see like that. And I kind of giggle at this one, good time management. Anyways, that's where I am an expert at in the world, and I focus on topics like that. So how I use Klout is this. I go into Explore, and I want to keep my brand out there about those particular things. So in the Explore button there, first of all, it's going to show you some other people. So my rule of thumb is if somebody has a higher score than me on something like leadership or something that I'm interested in, I will generally follow them. If they have a lower Klout score than I do there, they're not as impactful there, and I always want to kind of be driving myself, so I want to kind of learn from and make sure I keep a finger on the people that are doing that. Now, the cool thing is that they have articles that they already pull up in particular topics. So this one here, for example, is a QuickBooks. So somebody produced a QuickBooks 2018 thing, and I might go, hey, you know what? My clients would be interested in sharing this information through my social channel. So what I can do is I can click on share after reading it, of course. I never share anything before I read it. Say, you know what, this would be good for my Twitter accounts to share out that information. And this is the cool part about Klout. You can go to schedule and pick a specific time, and it already tells you what the best time and date is to post it, and it'll set it up. So what I do is pretty much every Monday morning, I'll sit down for about an hour, and I will find about 10 to 15 articles of interest, and I'll schedule them all throughout the week or the next 2 weeks, depending on what my schedule is. So people that are following me think I'm just an animal and sharing information on Twitter all the time there, and that's all I do. But I'm actually only spending a particular predetermined time and sharing out content. Now, sometimes you don't might like the articles or anything like that, but you might see something else there. So let's say that we go to Google. And actually, I'm already at Google, and I want to say new tax laws in Canada. There's going to be all kinds of information on what the tax laws are in Canada. This is a big topic right now. So important changes proposed. So let's say I go to this article. What I can do is I can add this extension, and I can click on it, and it'll automatically churn that into a article that I can time and post at a later time there. So you can see here it has the references. Oftentimes it'll include a photo, and I can look like I'm a genius there just sharing somebody else's information. So it doesn't look like it's just the reshare, but I'm actually doing that and scheduling it all out. So that's what I love Klout about, is that it allows me to look like I'm doing this all day, every day, but only spend a short amount of time in it. And then the other two products I'm going to talk about that I'm going to finish up this presentation because I got 6 more minutes is Bitly. Bitly is a link shortener. So oftentimes there you can see this nasty link there is way too long. And I might want to share out an email with somebody, and I don't want to put in a big giant link like that. It just doesn't look professional. So I'll take that link. I'll go to Bitly. I'll basically go to create link. I'll post it in here. Create, and I can change it. It'll shorten it up, and I can maybe say this is tax law 2017 and make it a little more custom that people will click on it. The great thing is when people click on this, I can see who is clicking on what and when and how often, and it gives me some insights of where, or basically insights into where the information is coming from. So I generally try to set up, especially in many of my marketing campaigns, I use a tool called ClearSlide that allows me to send an email out. I know exactly, if I send an email to 800 people, I know exactly how many people have clicked on that email to open it up. And general range for social sharing that way there is a good campaign is 30 to 40% open rate. And then from there, I can see that these are the links to the Eventbrite things that I want to share. How many people actually out of that, say 100 people that clicked on the email actually clicked on the link to find out more information. That's where Bitly comes in and says, okay, 39 out of that 100 people clicked on that. And then I can go to my Eventbrite program and see how many people registered. And so the numbers over the 8 years that I've been using these tools there have taught me that anytime you want to set up an event where you're using social media as a tool, you generally want to invite out 10 times more people than you want to show up. And that's just a standard rule of thumb, and you can kind of track it through these tools there. So Bitly is a great little tool for keeping track of what's going on and moving from there. And then the last tool that I want to talk to you guys about is Fiverr. Now, this is a little bit different. Fiverr, basically, the whole idea is when you're creating social media content, you can't just Google and take pictures for free all the time. There's, copyright restrictions, and you want to create logos and create brand and everything like that. What I like about Fiverr is here in Edmonton, if I was to go get a logo created by a local company, it's probably going to cost me a few hundred to a few $1,000s there. So Fiverr, I can go on here and I can say I want a logo. And what this is a resource for hundreds of thousands of people across the world there that design logos. So I can sit here and you see that there's 45,592 different people that produce logos. I can kind of look at it here. I just want to get out of here. I don't want that. And I can kind of look and see, oh, hey, you know what? I like this guy's logo there. He does minimal logo design. Okay, and it's $25. And generally you can say, okay, I want this logo, maybe I want this one here and what they give me, and turnaround time is 5 days. If I need it in a day for an event there, I might pay $90, and they usually turn it around, and okay, that guy's a 3-day thing, and I can kind of work. This is a great site for logos. It's a great site for content. They do research. They do those animation videos, the whiteboard videos, explainer videos. They do whole kinds of resources, and you can take this content and add it to your social presence there to make you look more professional at an inexpensive price. Okay, and that's the particular social media applications that I want to talk to about today. I have one more slide here just to kind of sum up. And then I will open up the phone to some specific questions there. Okay, so last page we're on is other tools. And before we depart, I'd like to share some wisdom from Jeremy Burke. My old principal in junior high called them Burkeisms there. So these are the kind of things that I think about there that I would like to impart and have you guys think about. First thing is, it is your business. You get to control and decide how you want to run your business. We also live in a world of abundance. I think that too many people think that there is scarcity in regards to customers and resources, and they're worried about selecting a niche, and they do the spray and pray technique because they don't know exactly how to communicate with people there. Just remember, even if you niche down to a specific segment or market, there's still probably hundreds of thousands of people that are in that, and there's more money in business out there than any one person can handle. One important fact that I see commonplace there when I talk to accountants and bookkeepers is that if you do not choose who you work with and how, you've given up control of your business to others who will determine this for you. It's unfortunate I come across way too many bookkeepers there that started a business, and generally they've started, and bookkeepers in particular, they started maybe helping out their husband, then a couple of his friends, and started a business, and they don't have the confidence there to really determine and decide on what they want to do for business, but they allow other people to come to them and they take on these clients, and oftentimes they're not satisfied with it. I'm hoping that you will take this presentation for social media and basically turn it around, take control of your business, realize that you can pick who you want to work with and basically tell them how you're going to work with. And if they don't like it, move on to the next person there. Seek communities you have common interests with, then aim to service them best you can. I personally love business, talking about business all day, and I really enjoy spending time with accountants and bookkeepers. I also personally note that I do not enjoy spending time with engineers and real estate agents there. So in that particular sense or case there, I pick the community that I want to work with, that I have a common interest in, and share that, and that brings joy and excitement to my role. I find people that spend time working with people that they don't particularly enjoy, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't chase money. It just runs faster the harder you chase. I learned this lesson probably about 6 or 7 years ago myself. I'm a very good salesperson, and I used to work really hard trying to convert people and pound my message into them. And since I've kind of taken a softer approach where I work more on trying to build partnerships and trying to understand how people think and how I can assist them there, I make way more money now than I ever made when I was chasing people for money there. And it's funny, I don't even think about money anymore. And that seems to be attractive in itself there, and it just keeps on coming to you there. So that's a real important aspect to take in place. Be meaningful and thoughtful and not just commercial. This social media presentation there, I've spent the last 10 years developing my thoughts and opinions about social media and been very successful about it. But I personally you'll never see from me trying to tell people buy QuickBooks. Which is, yes, a product I sell. I try to be meaningful and thoughtful in regards to sharing information like, hey, how do you become better at social media there with my clients, as opposed to just trying to sell stuff there through social media. And that's a very important thing. You have to invest the time to be regular and consistent. This will make you better than 99% of your competition. There's too many people out there that go, hey, I'm going to use social media. They might go hire a company and pay thousands of dollars for somebody to do the social media campaign for, but they're doing a campaign. It is not a one-time thing, and what's my return on investment? It doesn't work that way. You need to be consistent. You need to set aside a time, and it can start out small, and you need to be smart with your time and be ongoing. And then this is the last thing, is social media is a communication tool designed to bring people together. I find the best use is to track people to face-to-face events. Personally, for me, I really enjoy meeting people face-to-face. And so I gear all my social media communications there for making people aware of who I am. But ultimately, what I want to do is I want to have them meet me face-to-face. So if you're interested in social media and campaigning, I would also recommend on the next aspect of it is to watch my YouTube video on Event Marketing 101 at this particular link, and it will talk about my strategies that I implement in regards to getting people out to an event and the different types of events for accountants. And it's accountant, bookkeeper specific, but it can basically apply to anybody. So that is wrapped up my presentation, and that is 3 minutes over. So sorry about that for people that are on the phone. I will open up to questions and stop the recording. And once again, I'll post this to my YouTube channel so that people can share it out and rewatch it and go through the slides again.